Hi, I'm Tegan, and today I had originally hoped to bring to you a much more elaborate project that followed more closely along the lines of a mini documentary. However, due to the outbreak of COVID-19 and the social distancing policies that have been put in place, I have decided that for my own safety as well as everyone around my safety, it would be better for me just to film this video in the safety of my bedroom where no one will be affected. Sadly, this has taken away from the quality of the video I had hoped to produce, but I do think that the message I'm presenting is still very valid and hopefully can still get through to you. I really hope you enjoy what I've been able to come up with. Thank you for your time. The effects of climate change have shocked the world. The quickly escalating crisis has put a timer on how long our society has left to find a solution and save our planet. The increase in greenhouse gases released from fossil fuels has been the main cause of climate change, which is the shift in patterns of our climate in a regional or global scale. We have already seen the dire effect that climate change is going to have on our world. Our ice caps are melting, wildfires are slowly increasing, and many species are going extinct. And the way that climate change has affected the entire world has been covered brilliantly on a lot of documentaries, namely The 11th Hour, Ice and Fire, and Climate Change, The Facts. However, what I'm interested in is how climate change is going to affect small towns and cities like Elgin, because trust me, it is, and I want to know how to solve that. Many young activists have taken the initiative and joined the battle against climate change in hopes of making a positive change. There has been an influx in stories covering the worldwide fight on the news as the issue is becoming incredibly more prominent in our society. In a cry for help, climate strikes, protests, and global conferences have all been held in hopes of making a change. Greta Thunberg is possibly the most notable person fighting against climate change, as the 16-year-old was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize last year because of her amazing work. Another memorable name is Leonardo DiCaprio, who made an outstanding speech that moved many at the United Nations Climate Summit. But who can blame the man? He owes his whole career to an iceberg. However, the fight is not just being led by people who have made a name for themselves. Everyday people like you or I are raising their voices and doing something for change. However, the action is not just being led by people who've made a name for themselves. Everyday people like you or I are taking part in the action and really making a change. A great example of this was on the 20th of September 2019 when a group of Elgin Academy students gathered outside Murray Council and protested for something to be done. Climate change isn't caused by any one person or organisation. It is caused by a collective. However, it will affect every single person on this planet. And even though Elgin is in the middle of nowhere in the northeast of Scotland, I can promise that it will affect every single one of our lives. And we are only worsening that by contributing to the problem. The main source of our greenhouse gases comes from our everyday activity. Turning the lights on, watching TV, keeping ourselves warm with the heating, charging our phone, it's all contributing to the bigger issue because they all require electricity and they all require power. And sadly, that means most of the time we have to burn some fossil fuels. A lot of electricity is used by every single person on a daily basis, with each person using about 8.4 hour watts per day and 562,500 kilowatts in the entirety of their lifetime. Sounds like a lot, right? Well, it is, but that's nobody's fault. In the digital era where everything we do is online using the internet or using electricity and power of some sort, it's hard not to use that much. And we can't blame anyone for that because that's just how society has advanced. But that's not to say it's not a large contributor to the problem. There are, of course, other ways that we contribute greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. A lot of these being chemical and biological processes such as the creation of cement, keeping livestock, and the decomposition of waste. However, these are really hard to get rid of as they are necessary and often unavoidable processes that we're unable to change because we can't just stop waste breaking down. That will happen naturally. We can try find a better solution, but we can't stop it. And our livestock. Scotland is a very agricultural country, and I go to school and see cows, so I highly doubt that we can just get rid of them all. There is possibly a better way to keep them where we can reduce things like methane being released, but it's pretty unavoidable. And the creation of cement. We need to keep our town's infrastructure in good condition because we have pride in Elgin and we want our city, our town to look nice. We can't just stop fixing it. The high levels of CO2 that we are releasing into the atmosphere are contributing massively to Elgin's air pollution, which is raising the temperature of our town. However, this is not the only type of pollution that we are contributing towards. Every single day, no matter what part of Elgin I'm in, I see our streets covered in litter. Crisp packets, water bottles and coffee cups cover our town, and it's really not acceptable because those are going to take hundreds of years to decompose, and it's not even going to decompose properly. There will always be particles and microfibers that will litter our streets. And in that period of time that it takes for the plastic to decompose as much as it can, that's just going to leave more opportunity for birds and wildlife to eat at it, and that's going to get in their stomachs and seriously harm them and lead to deaths. And if it continues like that, it could lead to extinction in certain types of animals in Elgin or in our local area, which would be really tragic. How does this affect us? Well, one of the most noticeable effects we will see and are already beginning to see is an increase in flooding. Our town is already prone to floods and we see them on a yearly basis. However, that's going to increase a whole lot more in the future because this is going to happen because the raise of CO2 in our atmosphere is raising the temperature of seas and rivers near us, and that's going to be lifting the water out of the banks and onto our streets, which will turn our residents' lives upside down and cause havoc upon many lives. The rise in temperature will also kill our wildlife. In Elgin, we are so lucky to be able to see birds, squirrels, deer, and so many other animals on our day-to-day basis, but that is soon to disappear. A temperature rise of just 2 degrees is likely to wipe out most of the Earth's species, killing our ecosystems, so we should really prepare to say goodbye. And if the temperature rise doesn't kill them, then the wildfires that are likely to ensue probably will. However, the biggest effect that climate change will have on the world is that our planet will die, and places like Elgin will be the first to go. Our council is broke and simply doesn't have the resources we need to be able to cope with such drastic changes in our lifestyles. Our future generations simply won't have a future. My generation might not have a future because of it. Climate change is affecting everyone, but I think it's having the biggest impact on young people because it is our future and our generation that is going to have to fix the mess that was made. We are responsible for the change that will have to happen, even though we aren't the ones who killed the planet. But I'm sure you want to hear more than this week. So I asked a few of my friends and they weighed in and gave me their views. So let's see what they said.
One effect of climate change that I've seen in Elgin is that our winters typically don't have as much snow as they used to. I think
one of the biggest impacts climate change has had on Elgin is the amount of flooding. As a result, more flood alleviations have had to be installed.
these effects are happening through things such as greenhouse gases being emitted into the air, as well as global warming.
As to why climate change is progressing the way it is. I have seen bins being pushed into the pond at Cooper Park. Not only is this harmful for the environment, but also for the creatures that live there.
I am scared about the effects that climate change will have in the local area because my children's future is at stake.
I am a bit scared about the effect that climate change could have on the local area, just because I wouldn't want to see Elgin affected by something like that, because I think we've got a beautiful place that we shouldn't be taking advantage of.
In my opinion, climate change has come around from older generations being naive and taking the planet for granted and not taking care of it.
And I blame big companies who don't care about anything apart from money.
Climate change will affect everyone if the planet as a community doesn't come together in order to correct the mistakes humanity has made in the past.
Whilst the situation seems rather doom and gloom, it's not the end of the world, not quite yet at least. So we should be jumping at the chance to find a solution and do something whilst we still can. In order to see any significant change, we need to have some pretty big ideas, and we need these ideas to be followed through. I think that we should be improving our infrastructure. We should be having charging points for electric cars around every street corner so that we no longer have to rely on petrol or diesel cars, or we should at least be trying to promote people using hybrids. We should have more water filling stations so that there isn't so much litter or so much buying of plastic water bottles, because that is such an easy way to avoid it. And it will also give free clean water to those who are maybe homeless or struggling. In terms of our recycling, we should be able to recycle more than just 2 types of plastic, because there's so much that goes in the bin and goes to landfill, when we know other places are recycling them and we know they don't need to just be binned. So I think Mari needs to collect more plastics, and I understand it's difficult, but it's not impossible, and we need to make that investment. On top of that, we should also be getting renewable energy from renewable sources. Scotland is one of the world's leading countries in terms of renewable energy. So why aren't we using more of it to power our homes? But I understand these solutions are daunting in theory and seem pretty improbable. And those aren't solutions that you or I can put in place. Those are ones that council members need to put in place. So we need to keep campaigning and fighting and making noise until they do it and save our planet. However, not all of our hope should be lost just yet. There are things that we can all do on a day-to-day basis that will help enormously if we all just chip in.
I think climate change will have to be recovered by more households and vehicles being moved to cleaner energy sources.
I think we could resolve this issue by making a conscious effort to use less plastic, such as when going to the supermarket, making sure that you take a reusable bag with you rather than buying a plastic one whilst you're there, and also trying to reduce the amount of one-use plastic that you're buying. And when you have to buy it, making sure that it's disposed of properly and recycled or upcycling it.
We can change this by using energy efficient ways to travel and just use less power in our homes.
Global warming cannot be a little worry in the back of our heads anymore. It has to be at the forefront, and we all have to fight against it. It's scary, yes, I get that, but without change, the situation will only get much worse, and nobody knows how it's going to affect our little town of Elgin. But I can promise you, if we don't put in the vitally important change now, then there will be a lot of avoidable damage caused later. Big decisions need to be made, and big decisions are what we need to save our planet. But I get that we don't all have the power to do that. But we can protest, and we can all fight to get what we want. We can raise our voices and bother those with power to make change until they finally do something that will help our town. Because I don't want us to suffer any more than we have to. But until then, we all need to put effort in. Every little thing that we do will help. Everything we recycle, every time we turn the lights off, that is all helping. But we all have to do it. Keep fighting, don't give up yet. Keep raising your voices and save our planet.